again to call for urgent action and to speak out with one unified voice. We appreciate the urgent and necessary action provincial and federal governments have taken to respond to the COVID-19 emergency, in particular through providing direct financial support to individuals and groups across the board, including renters, tenants, seniors, small and large businesses, and vulnerable populations. But it is absolutely now for the provincial and federal governments to take urgent action to address the dire financial problems being faced by GTHA municipalities, including Toronto, and for that matter, many other municipalities across Ontario and across Canada. We, municipalities, are spending millions of dollars to fight COVID-19, both to protect public health and to save lives. We are also losing hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue in total while trying to continue to deliver vital services like the TTC for our healthcare workers and a host of other essential workers, and to provide other essential services on an ongoing basis that our residents depend upon. Now is not the time to leave municipalities grappling with financial uncertainty. Given that our principal constitutional and practical relationship is with our provincial government, we are looking for Queen's Park to immediately initiate substantive discussions with us, with other Ontario municipalities, and very importantly, with the Government of Canada, with a goal of taking joint action to alleviate these financial difficulties. We need their joint financial support. By that I mean the Government of Canada and the Government of Ontario. We need their joint financial support, and we need it now. As we've been outlining over the last several weeks, municipalities have serious problems. There are problems affecting all GTHA municipalities, and we simply cannot afford to have constitutional or intergovernmental wrangling standing in the way of these frontline municipal governments getting the help that they need now, including the City of Toronto. While addressing these problems should involve a cooperative national effort involving national governments and provincial governments, it has to start, in our case, with a willingness to take action on the part of the Government of Ontario, since, as we are frequently reminded, we exist under provincial legislation. Under that very same legislation, municipalities, including Toronto, cannot budget for a deficit. We cannot generally raise money other than through property taxes, nor can we slash services that the provincial and federal governments rely on us to deliver efficiently and effectively and equitably, especially to our most vulnerable populations. Cutting services in the middle of a pandemic response or recovery, or dramatically raising taxes would hurt the very same people that the federal and provincial governments have tried to help with various of the programs that I made reference to earlier. I cannot stress enough that the very ability of the province and the country to enjoy as quick and complete a recovery as possible, which will be to the benefit of millions of Canadians, will largely depend on the ability of those very same cities, including Toronto, to deliver that recovery, as we must do and as we want to do. Approximately 20% of the entire country's GDP, the size of the entire country's economy, 20% of that comes from the Toronto region. And if GTHA municipalities are financially crippled, we will not be able to play our leadership role in bringing about that robust recovery. We all want to defeat COVID-19 and make sure we get back to our strong economy and vibrant jobs market as quickly as possible. A strong recovery will rely on strong GTA municipalities delivering transit, delivering infrastructure projects, delivering childcare, and continuing to deliver the public health response to COVID-19. We need all governments to be united in supporting municipalities as quickly as possible. Achieving this goal must begin with the Government of Ontario committing itself to providing assistance to the province's own municipalities and initiating discussions with the Government of Canada and with us. We will look forward to some positive response in this regard in the very near future, as in this instance, time is not on our side. We know that people are working hard to keep their distance in city parks. We know that physical distancing is and has been the key to helping us stop the spread of COVID-19 and to save lives. While all of our parks are open, parks amenities have remained closed. One of our most popular parks amenities are off-leash dog parks. And so it is not surprising that we are seeing an increase in dogs off-leash in our parks, while the off-leash areas are closed. These areas were closed by the city when we moved to close all parks amenities, and by the provincial emergency order which followed a few days later. I have asked Toronto Public Health and our park staff to get a plan ready to reopen our off-leash dog areas, subject to the advice of our health professionals and with whatever provincial concurrence is needed. I believe this could happen sooner than later, and I want us to be ready to do that as quickly as possible. Much of this, of course, will rely on dog owners continuing to keep their distance from others in these areas. But I am confident that people will do the right thing and just want the off-leash areas open so they can exercise their dogs. The Canadian National Exhibition announced today that its board has made what I believe to be the right decision to cancel this year's CNE. And I want to thank them for making this responsible choice in the face of COVID-19. Public health must come first. And while we all have our fingers crossed for much better health conditions by late summer, prudence and the need for major commitments to be made by the X now if it was to open this year makes this, sadly, the right decision made at the right time. I believe we now have an opportunity for the CNE Association, the group that runs the X every year, city staff, Exhibition Place, and the provincial and federal governments to sit down and begin planning a modern CNE that would recommence in 2021, launching a new era in the history of one of Toronto's longest-running attractions, and making sure that the X will continue to be a must-see and must-attend event for generations to come. I believe it is time for us to have a historic discussion about the 21st Century X. What is the 21st Century X? How can we better reflect the roots of the fair, if you go all the way back all those years, as a place to truly showcase the talents and creativity and innovation of our entire nation each and every year, and do it in a way that is family-friendly and fun. I would like to see us reimagine a CNE, which will keep its strong base of supporters here at home, but will also evolve to an attraction which will bring visitors from across North America and around the world. Today's sad news also gives us an unprecedented opportunity to re-examine and reimagine the CNE, and I am determined as mayor to see us embrace it. The CNE has been through a lot in its 142 years of history, and it has missed years before due to the Second World War. While it's another reminder that life isn't normal right now, I'm confident that we will get through this and will be the beneficiaries of this reimagining of the CNE. We will, especially with the support of the provincial and federal governments I've talked about today, come back stronger as a city. I'm confident of that. And we will have a determination as a city to build up those things that it was so sad for us to miss during the pandemic, and to make sure that we build a stronger and even more innovative and even more resilient and caring Toronto. And now it is my pleasure to call upon Dr. Eileen de Villa for her report as Chief Medical Officer of Health for today.
Thank you, Mayor Tory, and good afternoon. Today, there are 218 new COVID-19 infections in Toronto. To date, 5,449 have recovered, an increase of 109 since yesterday. More detailed data on the status of COVID-19 cases in our city is available on our website. I continue to receive many questions about the health risk of acquiring COVID-19 when an employee at a grocery store or other similar setting has the virus. Because there is community spread of COVID-19, not all infections amongst store employees were acquired in their workplace. The virus continues to spread in many different locations in our city, but the highest risk exists from close household contact with someone who is infected with COVID-19. This is why it is important for everyone to keep 6 feet away from others when they are outside and to wash your hands often.
Like every time I do that,
For local grocery stores, pharmacies, and other businesses, I continue to recommend the use of good infection prevention and control practices. This includes regular cleaning and disinfecting of frequently touched objects and surfaces. I think it's
If I
important
disinfect
to
my
remind
ass, can I
everyone
scratch my ass?
that easing our public health
Without having to
measures
re-sanitize
will
my
continue
hands?
to be a gradual process until we have a vaccine or effective treatments for this virus.
But we're not going to wipe
Until
it
that
out.
time,
No, that's out of the question.
Physical distancing will be part of our everyday lives in all settings.
Forever.
I also continue to recommend for everyone to stay within your household bubble, as it's come to be known, in order to reduce the likelihood of disease spread throughout our community. This has been the advice for several weeks now and continues
Well,
to
500
be
years.
the best course of action in our city for now. While the overall rate of infection is going down in the province, which is good news, we need to be mindful that we still face the ongoing risk of COVID-19. So what does this all mean for our next normal? What might life look like until then? As we heard earlier this afternoon, the province will be announcing details of phase 1 of its reopening plan on Thursday. As the province relaxes public health measures, we can expect to slowly return to enjoying some of the activities that we have missed in recent months. However, we will need to continue to avoid crowds and, unfortunately, large gatherings for the foreseeable future. With the prospect of reopening, it becomes that much more important for everyone to continue to practice physical distancing. As I shared last week, in situations where you are in close contact with others and physical distancing is difficult to maintain, I recommend for people to wear a cloth mask or face covering to prevent the spread of your germs to others, even if you are not experiencing symptoms. This pandemic has brought us profound changes
Well, I don't
for
feel
which
sick.
we've
I
had
don't
no
care about
time
being sick.
to prepare. A recent survey suggests that
You're on
nearly
that elevator, though. You're
2/3 of
not-
Ontarians
I'm not
indicate
fucked up.
that
It all
leaving their
fucking
home
wrong.
gives rise to anxiety. Further, the pandemic restricts our ability to reach out, to connect in person, to comfort our friends, families, and loved ones, and to help us cope
This
and
is the
manage
hospital.
through
It's
these
the drugs
difficult
that you leave
times.
in the mail. Get a blood test.
Unfortunately,
Or
I
should've
do
got
not
30
have
fucking years
specific
ago.
timelines on when our local situation will change. But I know that it will depend on our collective actions and our ability to
Collective.
maintain good physical distancing and public health practices like frequent hand washing. Based on your commitment, I am hopeful that we will continue to move in the right direction. I want to sincerely thank you once again for continuing to do your part. We are truly fortunate to live in a great city of caring, compassionate, and resilient people who are
You
there
don't live here,
for
do you?
each other. Although we are physically apart,
You know how many people just
we are
scream,
connected
fuck
in
you,
spirit,
at the radio?
and we will get through this pandemic together. In the meantime, I ask you to continue to rely on and support each other. So please text, call, or connect virtually with your friends, your families, and your loved ones to check in on them. Please also continue to practice
Text Grandma,
physical
ask her if she wants the
distancing when
NBA
you go
season to
outside,
resume.
and please continue to take care of each other. I'll now hand it to Chief Pegg for his remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Davila, and good afternoon. The response to COVID-19 in Toronto continues to be both a sprint and a marathon for our team. As a city, we continue to provide the essential and critical services that our residents both need and rely on each and every day in Toronto. All aspects of EOC operations continue to operate 7 days per week, with over 60 days of continuous activation. We have continuously focused our efforts on creating innovative solutions throughout the pandemic. These solutions have enabled our team to respond immediately to issues as they arise and to effectively prepare for potential future challenges. For example, on May 10th, the province of Ontario released a guidance document with respect to optimizing the supply of PPE during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm pleased to advise that our PPE task force, which forms an integral aspect of our EOC operation, has proactively developed and launched many of the measures that have now been recommended by the province. Our team developed and implemented several PPE conservation initiatives, which have assisted us in ensuring that a stable PPE inventory is maintained in Toronto, despite the ongoing global supply challenges. Since early April, work has been ongoing to source and purchase reusable cloth isolation gowns, develop plans for the inspection, fit testing, and potential use of our pandemic stockpile of N95 respirators in the event that the current inventory can't be maintained, which has not become necessary thus far in Toronto. And we have developed a system to be able to collect, store, and decontaminate used N95 respirators, including acquiring the decontamination machines, the development of processes to facilitate the refrigerated storage of the used N95 respirators, and the development of internal processes whereby city divisions collect used N95 respirators for future potential decontamination. While the decontamination of N95 respirators has not yet been necessary, we are well prepared to proceed should that change. These developments are but a few examples of the innovative and proactive solutions that have been developed by our teams as we work to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic in our city. As you know, many of our retailers have started to reopen this week in accordance with recently amended provincial regulations and orders. I am pleased to report that we have not received any complaints as of end of day yesterday. Our business leaders are responding effectively to the changed landscape and are putting effective measures in place that enable them to deliver services while complying with provincial orders. We appreciate the efforts of every resident, business owner, and everyone in our city who is following these very important public health guidelines. In closing, I remind everyone that toronto.ca/COVID-19 is the best source for reliable and timely information on COVID-19 in Toronto. This is where you can find the updated guidelines for retailers, among other important updates pertaining to our city response. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. For reporters on the line, Marianne Bedard from Shelters is available, as is Paul Rathbus from Senior Services and Long-Term Care. The first question is to Chanel Call from CP24. Go ahead, Chanel.
Hi, Mayor. Thanks for taking my question. I want to ask you about the CNE. This is an event that brings in millions of dollars, hires thousands of people. Can you talk about some of the discussions that you've been involved in that led to this decision?
Well, the discussions were really at their end because the board of the CNE is the organization that puts on the fair and would decide on the various business considerations. And I guess all I can say is that they had a number of very important business decisions they would have to make, contracts they'd have to let, people they'd have to commit to hiring around now. For a fair that would take place in late August, as we know, where it was very uncertain as to whether a crowd scene of that kind was even going to be allowed under the rules or would be desirable from the standpoint of maintaining public health. And so the reason I said I felt they made the right decision is because I think we have to opt in all of these decisions in favor of public health, admittedly at a great cost to us in terms of employment and jobs and all the things you mentioned. But I think it now gives us an opportunity to reimagine the CNE and come back in 2021 with something that can be, an event that is respected and admired around the world and that will attract more visitors than ever and be a great success.
Yeah, and on that note, I'd like to ask you about what that modern version of the CNE would look like. Do you have any details on how this could be.
He has no
a
idea because he
virtual
made it
event,
up
so
because
much
it's got
of it
nothing
is
to do
really
with the
dependent on being
CNE.
physically there.
Well, I think that, technology allows us to take the CNE around the world.
Farmers are
without
all
people
about
necessarily
nuclear
coming here, but
knowledge,
I'd like to think they will come here because they will see a CNE.
It's
And this is just my
agricultural
opinion. Obviously, I've mentioned lots of people that will have to be involved in this reimagining since we now have the time and the opportunity. But I'd like to see something that goes back to the roots of the original CNE, which was a world exposition of Canadian talent in agriculture, in technology, in science, and that does it in a way that's fun. And I think we can do that. There's no reason we can't put on a globally admired and wonderful attraction of the caliber of our film festival at the CNE, and that we'll become known for the latest things that Canada has done and the Canadians have produced instead of, and I don't dismiss this. I mean, it's great fun to have the double waffle, double patty, bacon jam, cognac, maple syrup, burger, but at the end of the day, we're much more than that, and I think we can demonstrate that we're much more than that to the world, and I think this is an opportunity for us to do that.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Lucas Meyer now from News Talk 1010. Lucas?
Mayor, can you speak at all
What about the race-based data
impact this will have, though, the CNE not being here?
Well, it does represent an opportunity for thousands of young people to have some employment over the summer for a few weeks, and that often has meant a great deal to a lot of those kids in terms of the jobs. Obviously, all the different operators and people who display their wares and sell things at the CNE are going to be affected by this, but it is just one more tragic loss on the economic side that is as a result of this pandemic, but it is a result of the fact that we've placed, the CNE board and we all have placed health first, and said that those losses are tragic, they are traumatic, they have impact on individuals and businesses, but the impact is way worse of us having a second wave of this COVID-19, and that we've got to take steps at reasonable points in time to stop that from happening.
And for Dr. Davila, as we start to see more restrictions ease and more businesses open, etc., can you think of a circumstance or scenarios where beyond the recommendation of wearing a mask or a face covering, where do you see yourself, or would there be a circumstance where you would actually mandate it?
Just say no, it's not. This is the time
where customers inside have to wear those masks or face coverings. I'm just wondering if you see a scenario where you, as the chief medical officer, would say this is not a recommendation anymore. This is, you have to do this.
So, Lucas, that's a very good question and certainly an interesting issue that you raise. From what we can see in other jurisdictions, and I will say that we are looking towards the science, as we always do when it comes to making public health decisions, but given that we are talking about a novel virus, about which we are still learning a great deal, we are also looking to the evidence of the instance, what is actually happening on the ground now in other jurisdictions, particularly those that are a little ahead of us in respect of their outbreaks. And to date, I have not seen that happen.
China,
so I don't anticipate it right now.
The United States,
I think that as with any good practicing public health professional, one has to observe the situations and be prepared to adapt and adjust one's recommendations in accordance with what we see on the ground. I think one always has to be prepared to change one's position depending on what one sees actually in real life and make adjustments as we see fit in order to best protect public health and to follow what seems to work in terms of best protecting public health.
Happening now, you're listening to the daily update from the mayor and city health officials on the war against the spread. John Tory says it's sad news the CNE will not go ahead this year, but it's a good opportunity to reimagine the Toronto tradition and create a Canadian national exhibition for the 21st century.
This is 680 News. No feedback into that.
680 News. Now, 680 News gas price update. Enpro predicts the price will be dropping 2 cents a minute to 90.9 a liter at most stations. The safety of those around you is more important than ever. The government of Canada has stated that the use of a non-medical mask or facial covering can be an additional measure you can take to protect others around you. It's important we keep a supply of medical masks for frontline healthcare workers. CanadaMaskSupply.ca offers personal, non-medical masks and face shields at reasonable prices. Proudly made in Canada for Canadians. Buy non-medical masks and face shields now at CanadaMaskSupply.ca.
6 City News Time 411.
Traffic and weather together, Kyle Hockney.
This report brought to you by 407 ETR. We have a number of issues to bring you up to speed on. First of all, if you're on the eastbound 401, a new problem, East 401 ramp to the westbound 407. On that ramp, this stalled vehicle is blocking the right lane. Not much of a delay there. We also had some debris reported eastbound 401 east of Mavis, a tunnel cover in the right lane. MT was notified about that. Problems on the East 401 approaching Keel and the collectors have cleared. Delays gone through there. And we also have construction that has pretty well cleared on the East 401 in the Durham region. Approaching Brock Street, we still have some crews on the left shoulder.
I'm just chillin' with my boys and I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just chillin' with my boys and I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just chillin' with my boys and I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just chillin' with my boys and I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just chillin' with my boys and I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just chillin' with my boys and I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just chillin' with my boys and I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just chillin' with my boys and I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just chillin' with my boys and I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just chillin' with my boys and I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just chillin' with my boys and I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just chillin' with my boys and I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop.
No words. No words. No lyrics. I actually have to come on and say, Mr. Claire, this is a fucking radio host, not the official government people, and say, just to clarify, Thursday is not the beginning of phase one, it's when they're going to reveal the details of phase one. Oh, because they know everybody's going to be out there. How come you're not open yet, man? Thursday. I heard Thursday.
I'm just chilling with my boys and I can hear it so woke. I'm just chilling with my boys and I can hear it so woke. I'm just chilling with my boys and I can hear it so woke. I'm just chilling with my boys and I can hear it so woke. I'm just chilling with my boys and I can hear it so woke. I'm just chilling with my boys and I can hear it so woke.
Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour or anytime at sportsnet.ca/590. Hi, Tom Rokicki here of Inline Fiberglass Windows and Doors. Our heroes continue to amaze us. From all of us here at Inline Fiberglass, thank you. It's important that we stay strong. Continue to check in with family, friends, and employees. Keep the conversation going. And if you ever want to start a conversation about windows and doors, we're just a click away. Book a virtual consultation at inlinefiberglass.com. Together, we will get through this. You might look at a cannabis edible and think, oh, how cute. That one's shaped like a gummy bear. But with an unpredictable eye and the lane effect, how increasing as it looks. Looks like a puppy with a samurai sword. What a jaw on the king like that horror movie. Come to think of it, pretty much any doll makes me a little anxious. Those eyes, pulsating. Oh boy, I think it's kicking in. Learn how to talk with your kids about cannabis edibles at drugfreekidscanada.org. These get through my sleeves. This is 680 News. It's the annual end of summer tradition, but for the first time since wartime, the CNE is not going ahead this year. 680's Michelle Mackey joins us live with the latest. Michelle.
James, sadly, it's the right decision. That's the message from Mayor John Tory, who, on the bright side, says the cancellation will give organizers the opportunity to reimagine the CNE for 2021.
Launching a new era in the history of one of Toronto's longest-running attractions and making sure that the X will continue to be a must-see and must-attend event for generations to come.
It's only the second time in its 142-year history that the X is closed. The last time was World War II. And hopefully you saw the snowbirds over the weekend because the International Air Show is also a no-go. Organizers say they're looking at an online event Labor Day weekend instead. The X was scheduled to run from August 21st to September 7th. Reporting live and thinking about that dill pickle pizza from last year, I'm Michelle Mackey.
Premier Ford says good news is coming for the province this week, saying he'll be announcing details on stage 1 of the plan to reopen. 680's Mark Douglas is looking into that and joins us live. Mark.
James, Ontario is close enough to emerging from the shadow of COVID-19 that the Premier says he will announce details on Thursday of stage 1 of getting back to normal.
We'll be reopening
was this guy.
Workplaces, seasonal businesses, and essential services.
Doug Ford says this will be the first of 3 stages of getting back to normal, but he would not say yes or no on whether stage 1 might include restaurants, regular shopping, or easing up on crowd restrictions. But don't mark your calendars yet. A spokesperson for the Premier emphasizes to our newsroom that Thursday will only be the details of what stage 1 will look like. Chief Medical Officer of Health for Ontario, Dr. David Williams, says we are not there yet.
We're hoping to have some recommendations as we continue to watch these numbers and see if they are slowly coming into the correct metrics that we're looking for.
Williams says there's only been 7 or 8 days of encouraging numbers so far, and if he felt Ontario was ready for stage 1 of reopening, he would have said so already. Reporting live, I'm Mark Douglas.
This is All News Radio 680 News urges sweeping reforms. That's what a new report from the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario is calling for.
The report has 9 recommendations with a focus on making long-term care a priority of Ontario Health Team's current model. As of now, long-term care is not considered a mandatory component, meaning it often misses out on funding. Doris Greenspun is the CEO of the Nurses Association and says the current model is too focused on hospitals.
We are going to have a system that focuses more and more on community care and that becomes more and more anchored in primary care.
She's also calling for nurses to make up at least 20% of workers in congregate settings. There were 361 new cases reported and 56 more deaths today, bringing the total case count to 20,907 in our province. The good news, more than 73% of those cases have recovered. I'm Cam Dorrit.
Traffic and weather together. Here's Kyle.
This report brought to you by Roto-Rooter Emergency Services. As you travel the major routes, a few delays. We have construction going on and some problems. If you're on the eastbound 401, the ramp to the westbound 407 now cleared of that stalled vehicle, so no problems there. We had some debris reported eastbound 401 east of Mavis, a tonneau cover in the right lane. MTO was on the way. Then across the city, it's not too bad, but in Durham region, still a bit of a volume spot from east of Westney to east of Salem. Construction in this area has completely cleared, so that's just the last bit of volume we're waiting for to ease up. On the westbound 401, still busy approaching Hurontario and the collectors to west of Mavis because of an earlier problem. Looks like we may have a new issue on the southbound 400 ramp to the eastbound 401. I'm seeing the delay here on camera. The MTO just needs to spin it around for me so that I can see what the problem is. But a bit of a delay here, south 400 ramp to eastbound 401. We have as well, if you're traveling northbound, this is northbound DVP. 2 minor problems. North of Bayview Bloor, stalled vehicle on the right shoulder. And north of Eglinton, the end of the ramp lane, that acceleration lane, blocked with a stalled vehicle. A bit of a delay north DVP, Don Mills up towards Lawrence, so I would say that's more volume than anything. Westbound QEW, also very slow from approaching Erin Mills to Ford Drive as you head into a construction zone where 2 left lanes are blocked. We had debris reported on the westbound 403, west of Hurontario. Some insulation in the center lane, a minor delay there. And off the highways, northbound Warden and westbound Ellesmere at the intersection, those two are reduced to a single lane. In fact, it looks like that collision has now cleared, so that's no longer a problem. But we have another problem on Kennedy Road, just north of Steeles. Kennedy is blocked there with a vehicle rollover. Roto-Rooter is fully prepared to continue to serve you in this difficult time to help with any of your drain, plumbing, or disinfection needs. Contact them 24/7 online at rotorooter.com. Your next report at 4:31, and with the extended forecast, meteorologist Natasha Ramsahai.
Well, can't wait till Friday. That's going to be our next chance at hitting that 20-degree mark. But before we get there, we've got that frost advisory in place again for tonight. So a cold night. Skies will be clearing. I think we have a good shot at seeing that sun here before it sets just after 8:30 p.m. But morning wind chills near -6. It is going to be a sun-filled Wednesday with a high of 14 degrees. Now, Thursday, we're back to overcast conditions. Dry through the morning, on and off showers, heavy at times through the afternoon and evening with a high of 11 degrees. And again, that 20 degrees returns on Friday. Looks like we'll have some morning rain, but drier through the afternoon. Tonight, we're down to a low of -2 degrees. Right now, it is 7 degrees at Pearson.
At the bottom of the hours. Sad news today with cancellation of the Toronto end of summer tradition. The 2020 CNE will not go ahead due to the pandemic. We're gathering reaction. This is 680 News.
If it doesn't freeze, it's going to feel
extremely proud to be locally owned and operated, especially during these challenging times. We believe it's important to shop Canadian and support neighborhood retailers. This is why you'll find the largest selection of Canadian-made pet foods, treats, and toys in our stores. We want to thank all of our loyal customers who continue to support us. Find your local store today at globalpetfoods.com to place an order for convenient curbside pickup. Global Pet Foods, proudly supporting our local communities since 1976.
Why this side is flat.
Special shout out to nurse Cheryl Toldy from Toronto General Hospital. ANCA nominated you and Pay It Forward to our healthcare heroes for sending you 5 easy dinners, courtesy of PC Chef Meal Kits by President's Choice Attack. Thank you for all you're doing in the front lines. We appreciate you. To pay it forward to a healthcare worker you know, visit 680news.com/heroes.
Tell me.
It's International Nurses Week, and 680 News wants to show our thanks and appreciation.
Head to 680news.com. Check out the inspiring t-shirt and mask collection, where proceeds will go towards the Frontline Fund, an organization providing providing supplies and support to healthcare professionals.
Their courageous efforts throughout this time deserve to be celebrated and reciprocated in any small way that we can.
Thank you with style, with a heart and a smile.
Visit 680news.com.
This is All News Radio 680 News. Business Next.
The safety of those around you is more important than ever. The government of Canada has stated that the use of a non-medical mask or facial covering can be an additional measure you can take to protect others around you. It's important we keep the supply of medical masks for frontline healthcare workers. CanadaMaskSupply.ca offers personal, non-medical masks and face shields at reasonable prices. Proudly made in Canada for Canadians. Buy non-medical masks and face shields now at CanadaMaskSupply.ca.
It is hard to be upbeat if this crisis has made your debt unmanageable, but there is hope. Hear how Canadians have recovered from overwhelming debt.
Oh, I was stuck at the lowest point in my life financially. With my world crumbling around me. Together with Farber, I took control of my debt. They saved me.
Farber, licensed insolvency trustees, have helped over 100,000 Canadians get out of debt. Visit afarber.com to book a free phone or video consultation.
Business, Richie.
Hey, Jamie, there is your Tuesday trade in the books. Not such a hot one. TSX falling 222 points, down 1.5%. to 14,881, back below 15K on May. We saw some weakness for the Canada stocks today. Aurora down 13% to $9.08. Elsewhere, Air Canada flew lower, down 6% to $15.32. A little bit of a bit higher for Shopify, up to $1,053 a share. On the big board, some red ink. The Dow fell 457 points. Down almost 2%, 23,764. S&P down 2%. NASDAQ snaps its win streak. It fell 2 percentage points as well. Traders a little bit nervous after getting a look at some jurisdictions who have started to reopen their economy, like Germany, but have then subsequently seen a spike in COVID cases. Shares at Tilray down 7.5% after the company reported some disappointing earnings yesterday.
Look at all the medical students.
Consolidation perhaps in the food delivery space. Uber has approached Grubhub about a takeover, according to the Wall Street Journal. However, CNBC now reporting that Uber has rejected a 2.15 share ratio in that deal. Apparently, Grubhub and Uber bickering a bit over the price, so no firm deal there just yet. Grubhub stock closed higher by 29%. Uber was up 2.4% to $32.40. Canadian dollar lower at 71.07 cents US. The top stories, including big news on the grand old lady, next on 680 News.
Amazon is hiring near you. No resume or previous work experience required.
No previous work experience.
Are a top priority with all of our roles and
What the fucking hell are you going to have
Amazon is
people
taking
do?
precautions in our buildings to keep people healthy. Learn more.
You wear a mask? Yeah.
At Amazon.ca/apply.
You're right.
That's Amazon.ca/apply.
How much money would you like to save just by doing something you're already doing? 15 or 25%? How about 30%? With Allstate, safe drivers can save 30% just by doing something they're already doing. Driving safe. That's right, 30% just by driving safe. Visit Allstate.ca or call a local agent for a quote today and see just how much you can save when you drive safe with Allstate.
Search Save 30% with Allstate for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
It's 4:30.
Number one for news in Toronto. This is 680 News.
Here are Sledgeana Dominzik and James Monroe.
Good afternoon. This is Tuesday, the 12th of May.
Here's what you need to know right now.
An historic decision. The 2020 CNE canceled in light of COVID-19. Organizers pulled the plug for the first time since World War II.
Premier Doug Ford is almost ready to announce stage one of getting Ontario back to normal from COVID-19.
For the cautious reopening of our province.
The province's emergency order gets extended another 3 weeks to June 2nd. A limited number of MPPs meet at Queen's Park to make it happen.
More than 73% of COVID-19 patients have recovered in our province, but there are 361 new cases and 56 more deaths today. Now nurses are demanding change.
Talks between Major League Baseball and its players will start up today as they try to hammer out a template for the 2020 season. Sports at 45.
TSX down, both Blues ground a triple-digit pullback in a legendary Toronto bar. Kaputs after 30 years. Business at 56.
680 News Time, 4:31.
A third tuning would be 6. 5 is
This report brought to you by 407 ETR. The drive is improving now. Construction is clearing up here and there, and we're getting rid of some problems as well. If you're on the eastbound 401, you may still find some debris east of Mavis. It was a tunnel cover in the right lane. I would imagine that the MTO has gotten to that by now. The only volume is on the East 401 through Salem Road, and that just is the last bit of volume to ease off after we had some construction clear near Brock Street. So this is just that last tiny bit to go. Westbound 401 now up to speed across the GTA. The only delay was into Mississauga, but that is now eased off as well, and it was only because of an earlier problem. Still 2 minor issues on the North Don Valley. North of Bayview Bloor, stalled vehicle on the right shoulder. And north of Eglinton, the end of the ramp lane is blocked with another stalled vehicle. Neither one really having much of an impact on the speeds, but there is some minor volume from Don Mills up towards Lawrence. We have on the southbound 400, everything moving smoothly now. There was a problem on the south 400 ramp to the east 401. That came and went without any issues. The westbound QEW, that's the one really busy spot. From Winston Churchill to Ford Drive, 2 left lanes are closed because of construction work. But it is clearing up, so we've got delays. Aaron Mills over to Ford Drive. Crews are backing up to pick up the cones, though. 407 ETR is helping communities and hospitals with a $5.2 million donation to United Way and GTHA hospitals. Learn more at 407etr.com. Your next report at 4:41, and with the forecast, meteorologist Natasha Ramsahai.
Yeah, it's getting brighter out there. Little peaks of blue sky out there now. So we're going to gradually clear out this cloud. We'll see that sunset at 8:33 p.m. and then clear skies tonight. But of course, that combined with late winds. And we're still in a cold air mass, means the risk of frost once again as we drop to -2 degrees. The morning wind chill around -6, but it is going to be a sun-filled Wednesday all day long with a high of 14 degrees. Tonight we're down to that low of -2 degrees. Right now we're sitting at 7 degrees.
No, you're right.
That's the 680 News.
I don't want to go. It's going to suck. So it'll be fun.
Tradition, a cultural institution, and a major moneymaker for the city of Toronto. But today, it is the latest event to be canceled because of the pandemic.
680's Michelle Mackey joins us live with the latest on the organizers saying there'll be no CNE this year. Michelle.
Yeah, James, it's only the second time in its 142-year history that the X has closed. The last time being World War II. But Mayor John Tory says public health must come first.
Well, we all have our fingers crossed for much better health conditions by late summer. Prudence and the need for major commitments to be made by the X now this year makes this sadly the right decision.
Tory also says this is a rare opportunity to re-examine and reimagine the CNE for 2021.
What is the 21st century X? How can we better reflect the roots of the fair, if you go all the way back all those years, as a place to truly showcase the talents and creativity and innovation of our entire nation?
The International Air Show is also a no-go. Organizers say they're looking at an online event Labor Day weekend instead. The X was scheduled to run from August 21st to September 7th. Reporting live, I'm
Why
Michelle
tell us
Mackey.
the dates of something that isn't going to happen?
This is 680 News. Doug Ford will open the door a little wider on Thursday with a sneak peek on where we go from here. The Premier says he'll be announcing details on the next part of Ontario's reopening plan later this week. 680's Mark Douglas joins us live with the look ahead. Mark.
Well, Jenna, Ontario Premier Doug Ford says on Thursday he will announce the details of stage 1 of 3 stages on how to reopen the Ontario economy.
We're building a solid foundation for the cautious reopening of our province.
The Premier, however, is for now keeping all those details to himself. The most he would reveal today is to say, quote, we'll be reopening more low-risk workplaces, seasonal businesses, and essential services, unquote. Now, I asked the spokesperson for the Premier if Dr. Williams, Dr. David Williams, the province's top doctor, has actually given the okay for stage 1, and that spokesperson emphasizes that the Premier's announcement coming Thursday will only be what stage 1 of reopening the economy will look like. And Dr. Williams himself says there has been 7 or 8 days of falling pandemic stats. However,
unfortunately, not a very rapid downward trend, but it's tending that way. Other metrics are looking good, but we haven't had all those things come together yet where we say, now we're ready to enter stage 1.
Dr. Williams says if we were ready to enter stage 1, he would have already recommended that we do so. Reporting live, I'm Mark Douglas.
He's talking
This
about
is 680 News. At Queen's Park, MPPs have passed an extension of the state of emergency. Here's 680's Momin Qureshi.
This session of the legislature certainly looked different, with just 42 of the usual 124 MPPs seated several seats apart to keep with physical distancing rules, all focused on extending the state of emergency, which Solicitor General Sylvia Jones says is necessary.
This will allow us to continue to quickly implement and enforce orders in the public interest. We know these measures continue to affect people's everyday lives, but they are necessary to ensure that we can stop the spread of COVID-19.
MPP Peggy Sattler supporting the extension, but wants to see issues like more stringent testing and commercial regulations addressed.
We need to see bills come forward that have a lot more substance, quite frankly, than the pieces of legislation we've passed since this emergency was first declared.
The emergency order now runs until at least June 2nd. I'm Momin Qureshi.
This is 680 News. Today is International Nurses Day. We have a fresh report
He
out
won't
from
be
the
running
Nurses
from
of
August
Ontario,
21st
calling
to
for
September
urgent
7th.
reform.
Nurses say COVID-19 in Ontario is a tale of two
never
pandemics.
forget those
One, the
days.
management and hospitalization of the general population. The other, the devastating spread in congregate settings, including long-term care homes. Doris Greenspun is the CEO of the Nurses Association and says an urgent change is needed.
The problem with nursing homes right now, let's start simple. We don't have enough of
every rooming
We
house
don't have enough
everywhere in
PSWs. We don't have
Canada
enough
right
beds.
now.
Right now, long-term care is not a mandatory component of Ontario health teams. But speaking this afternoon, Health Minister Christine Elliott says that's not a problem.
I don't think it's necessary to make it mandatory. It's just happening naturally.
The 9 total recommendations from nurses come as Ontario reports 361 new cases today, including 56 more deaths. 73.9% of all cases have recovered. I'm Cam Dorrit.
This is 680 News. The provincial NDP leaders calling on the Ford government to hold a public inquiry into the province's long-term care system. It's been at the center of numerous deadly outbreaks. Premier Ford has promised a review, but is not committing to a sweeping probe. It's a system that we're going to need help from the federal government to get the proper funding in there. And, I've always said 2% of the people in long-term care of 78,000 patients have been infected. And in my opinion, that's 2% way too many. We shouldn't have any infections, and we're going to do everything we can. We'll not spare a penny. More than 1,200 long-term care residents have died of COVID.
No,
The
you
federal
can't have
government
our
has
pennies.
unveiled new financial support for
There are
seniors
pennies.
struggling during the
You
pandemic.
have the Canadian Tire money, it falls apart in
For those who
Washington.
have built this country for the rest of us.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says this pandemic has taken a toll on our seniors, from the emotional struggles and isolation to the financial troubles due to retirement savings taking a hit and increased costs to get essentials like groceries. So the federal government is providing $2.5 billion in a one-time top-up to benefits. Those who receive old age security will get an additional $300, and those who receive the guaranteed income supplement will receive $200. Trudeau says there will also be an additional $20 million in funding for the New Horizons program.
So that organizations could provide delivery services and help seniors stay in touch with family during the pandemic.
But critics say this is too little too late, and a one-time payment won't help if restrictions continue for months. Trudeau says the focus right now is on short-term help, and they'll adjust as the pandemic develops. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
Canada is feeling the pressure to reopen the border with the U.S. with the mutual ban on non-essential travel set to expire next week. Prime Minister Trudeau says the country will be very cautious when it comes to reopening international travel.
When you open it, we'll hang you.
Keeping Canadians safe. And that is the
Right
spirit
on the
in
border,
which we have
too.
engaged
So
in constant
our
and
guy, we do
constructive
this too. Don't
dialogue
even
with
try
the
coming up with
Americans to talk about shared interests, including the border. And I have no doubt we will have more to say in the coming days on how we continue to move forward in a way that keeps Canadians safe.
He says preventing transmission of COVID-19 into Canada from other countries will be an essential part of preventing a second wave of the outbreak.
Nobody else is
Woodbine Entertainment's hoping to resume horse racing next month. The CEO says harness racing could resume June 5th at Woodbine Mohawk Park in Campbellville, with the 2020 thoroughbred season opening the following day at Woodbine Racetrack in Toronto. Races would be held without spectators. Should that not be possible, Harness racing could restart June 12th, with the thoroughbreds getting underway June 13th. CEO says Woodbine will only resume racing if it's safe to do so, and the organization will continue to follow recommendations established by government health authorities.
Did horses get this fucking virus? Did anybody check?
News gas price update, and predicting the price will drop 2 cents at midnight to just under 91 cents a liter.
Pangolins, not penguins, pangolins, whatever the fuck penguins.
Here, I know you're next door by a condo, and I appreciate that. I really do.
Horses are pretty cool. Horses are pretty similar to some of those.
Everybody could use a little help, like Jerry here.
Well, she told me it was easy. I went to OntarioCars.ca, and don't you know, I fell in love with a beauty.
See, look up OntarioCars.ca to find sellers you can trust. Don't worry, you'll be just fine.
OntarioCars.ca.
680 News Time 441.
Traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Carol Honking.
This report is brought to you by Lowe's. We've got a few changes on the major routes. The one really heavy delay right now is on the westbound QEW. As you head through Mississauga, we have from Winston Churchill to Ford Drive, 2 left lanes still blocked for construction, but crews are slowly backing up and picking up these cones. So this is in the process of clearing. And the delay is from Erin Mills over towards just west of Winston Churchill. That's where the crews are currently backing up at that point. So it is still busy here, but improving a little bit, especially toward the west end of that delay. As far as the 401 goes, not much to tell you about. We had a spot of debris on the eastbound 401 east of Mavis. The right lane was blocked with a tonneau cover, or affected with a tonneau cover anyway, and the MTO was on the way. Nothing of note to mention on the westbound 401. Minor problems on the North Don Valley Parkway, north of Bayview Bloor. We had a stolen vehicle on the right shoulder.
Et donc, ce que vous nous proposez, c'est tout simplement de repenser le
monde.
Rien de moins, et c'est là une grande réflexion dans le système des idées. Alors, je dis qu'il faut repenser et réorganiser le monde. On doit porter une réflexion sur l'avenir qui doit prendre en considération plusieurs points que j'ai soulignés dans les chroniques. Alors, cette réflexion doit comprendre une réflexion sur la croissance économique continue, un large usage de produits chimiques qui polluent l'air, la terre et l'eau, et qui résulte en l'extinction massive des espèces. La réflexion doit porter sur la croissance démographique.
I think they sleep in the daytime somewhere.
8 milliards de personnes sur la planète, et tous veulent consommer et faire le tour du monde. Une réflexion doit aussi porter sur la domination mondiale et la polarisation des richesses. Et à la fin, finalement, cette réflexion elle doit porter sur nos valeurs, sur le sens de la vie, y compris sur le sens de notre présence sur la planète Terre. Il faut réfléchir une alternative au capitalisme sous sa forme néolibérale, cette manière de penser qui veut transformer tout ce qui existe en marchandises et qui fonde ses valeurs sur la possession des biens matériels. L'alternative consiste donc en l'ouverture d'une réflexion qui dépasse le cadre des problèmes pris isolément les uns des autres, qui dépasse le cadre de la liberté de l'individu, qui dépasse la recherche du bonheur dans la consommation des biens matériels et qui dépasse le cadre des États nationaux.
Et comment est-ce qu'on devrait faire ça, François?
C'est compliqué, je l'avoue, mais je suggère de réfléchir à la mise sur pied de diverses institutions, je pense à 4 institutions, à partir au nom des Nations Unies, et qui permettraient de réfléchir et d'entrevoir un développement pour tous. Alors, la première de ces institutions verrait à l'arbitrage des conflits armés pour trouver des solutions équitables aux conflits actuels. Cette institution aurait pour mandat de développer le développement et la gestion d'une politique de désarmement planétaire pour mettre un terme à l'industrie de la mort. La guerre n'est pas bonne pour la santé. Il faut investir ailleurs les milliards de dollars qui sont aujourd'hui consacrés. Une deuxième institution serait responsable de l'organisation des secours d'urgence découlant des phénomènes naturels. Je pense aux ouragans, sécheresses, inondations, tremblements de terre, etc. Cette institution aurait aussi pour mandat la mise en place de mesures de conservation de la nature, ainsi que la gestion de l'adaptation de l'espèce humaine au changement climatique. Une troisième institution verrait à la gestion des produits chimiques, des engrais, des médicaments, des organismes génétiquement modifiés, tout ce qui est produit par l'homme et qui, finalement, est nocif à la santé lorsque c'est rejeté dans l'environnement. Cette institution gérerait également la pollution mondiale et serait responsable de mettre en œuvre une politique écologique conforme aux conditions de possibilité qu'offre la planète. Une quatrième institution, finalement, verrait au développement équilibré de toutes les régions de la planète, de voir à une distribution équitable de la richesse, à l'accès équitable aux ressources, en particulier aux aliments, à l'eau et à l'énergie. Elle comporterait un développement démographique pour planifier la croissance des populations.
Quand j'entends ces propositions, j'entends le lien avec l'ONU. Je sais que l'ONU est déjà fortement critiquée, contestée par certains. Dans votre plan, j'ai l'impression qu'il y en a plusieurs qui diraient que c'est un recul un peu sur les libertés de certains pays, des individus, aussi de prendre finalement des décisions eux-mêmes dans leur meilleur intérêt, non?
Oui, vous avez raison. Et je pense que la pandémie nous a aussi montré qu'il faut redéfinir le sens du mot liberté dans le cadre de la vie sociale. Il faut que l'individu jouisse de la plus grande liberté possible, ça c'est certain. Il faut garantir les droits et les libertés pour tous, ça aussi c'est certain. Mais il faut qu'on restitue la liberté dans le cadre contraignant des solidarités sociales. Et il faut que cette solidarité s'élargisse à toutes les formes de vie. On ne peut plus vivre contre la nature au nom de notre liberté, pas plus qu'on peut assassiner notre mère au nom de la liberté d'expression. Nous n'avons jamais été maîtres absolus de qui nous sommes, ni absolument libres de notre destinée dans le monde. Chacun de nous bénéficions des acquis des générations précédentes. Il est de notre responsabilité de le comprendre pour les générations futures.
Il y en a d'autres qui vont quand même reprocher à votre plan de mettre un frein, disons, aux différents plans qui existent de développement économique.
Absolument. Je pense qu'il faut réfléchir la décroissance. Il faut qu'on réfléchisse au sens qu'on a donné au mot développement. On a remplacé le progrès de jadis. On avait cette idée, cette impulsion à vouloir être toujours mieux. On a remplacé cette idée de progrès par l'idée de développement, c'est-à-dire cette propension à vouloir toujours plus. Il faut entrevoir notre développement au sens spirituel, au sens d'un bien-être, au sens d'une quête de sérénité, tant pour la personne que pour l'humanité. C'est certain que l'agriculture doit comprendre une dimension matérielle et il faut bien satisfaire nos besoins primaires et secondaires, mais il faut cesser de mesurer notre bonheur à l'accumulation infinie de richesses matérielles. Je pense que l'humanité est aujourd'hui à la croisée des chemins. Soit elle poursuit son développement vers la destruction, sous l'impulsion des entrepreneurs qui veulent que la grenouille devienne aussi grosse que le bœuf, soit elle procède vers le progrès de sa personnalité profonde, de la beauté et de la créativité humaine, sur le seul vaisseau spatial dont elle dispose, à la manière de cette arche qui a déjà dû sauver la vie de la destruction.
En tout cas, François Boudreau, vous nous avez offert de très intéressantes réflexions au cours des dernières semaines. Merci beaucoup d'avoir été avec nous.
Merci à vous, ça m'a fait vraiment plaisir.
À une prochaine fois, j'espère. Au revoir. François Boudreau, donc, qui est professeur agrégé et coordonnateur de la maîtrise en service social à l'université Laurentienne. On écoute maintenant Benny Adam, qui a un album qui est disponible en ce moment en écoute intégrale sur le site d'Ici Musique et sur l'application audio jusqu'au 15 mai. Voici la chanson On m'a dit.
Pas de musique.
On m'a dit faut du neuf, j'ai dit me voilà.
A 10-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Symptoms resemble a disease called Kawasaki, fever, red eyes, swollen hands or feet. Doctors still don't understand the link between this disease and COVID-19. There have been confirmed cases popping up in Chicago, Connecticut, the Bay Area. New York has seen more than 90 cases among children and at least 3 deaths. Ryan Burrow, ABC News.
Dr. Anthony Fauci is warning of needless suffering if the U.S. reopens too soon with the pandemic still raging.
At an extraordinary Senate hearing, Fauci told lawmakers via video conference while self-quarantining, he worries cities and states might trigger outbreaks they cannot control if they skip over recommended checkpoints and open too soon.
The consequences could be really serious.
The testimony from Fauci and other health experts comes as President Trump praises states that are reopening and criticizes those holding back, even as Fauci warned of the risks.
I don't think you're the end all. I don't think you're the one person that gets to make a decision.
GOP Senator Rand Paul said there should be some humility in knowing what's best for the economy. Paul was among a few senators in the hearing room, while many asked questions remotely. Sagar Mangani, Washington.
Canada's Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Theresa Tam, says we won't be seeing any mass gatherings or non-essential travel anytime soon.
The pathway to this new normal has to be extremely cautious where you have to monitor what actually happens and evaluate what happens when you do that. But the new normal means that Canadians, every one of us, must continue to observe some very core public health practices, which one of the most difficult is staying home when you're sick.
She says we should expect to see more plexiglass barriers and physical distancing measures in stores and businesses.
680 News Time, 4:51.
Traffic and weather together on one
service or monitor on top of people's faces anyway.
We have still this delay on the westbound QEW. It's just at Winston Churchill, where construction is blocking. It looks like only a single left lane now. Crews are in the process of backing up and picking up these cones. So it is still busy from Erin Mills over towards Winston Churchill. But shortly, this construction will be cleared up completely, and then we'll see that delay develop, evaporate, I should say. Right now, still a bit of volume, but this construction moving on. We have a minor issue on the northbound Don Valley Parkway, north of Eglinton, right at the end of the ramp lane. A stolen vehicle is blocking it there. We have crews on the scene. DVP itself is busy from north of Don Mills up to York Mills, mostly just volume with traffic leaving downtown there. If you're traveling the remainder of the highways, not much else. We had some debris on the eastbound 401 east of Mavis. Tunnel cover's been removed. Westbound 403 west of Huron, Ontario, some insulation debris has been removed there. And we briefly had a stalled vehicle on the eastbound 403 coming out of Hamilton, east of Highway 6 north. That came and went, and most of the delay cost is gone too. We have some wires that have come down on Weston Road, north of Albion at Lilac, so expect lane restrictions there. Still lane restrictions at Bathurst and Rutherford, single lane all ways for ongoing water main repairs. Dixie Road in Mississauga between Britannia and Derry, quite slow. More single lane maintenance for construction there. And northbound Kennedy has now reopened north of Steeles after a vehicle rollover. Southbound Kennedy should be reopening any moment now that this vehicle is hooked up to a tow truck. Queensway Hyundai is now offering purchase from Home Solutions or showroom visits by appointment. Last chance for 6-month payment deferral plus 0% lease or finance. Visit queenswayhyundai.ca. Your next report at 5:01, and with the extended forecast, meteorologist Natasha Ramsahai.
We do see a warm-up coming. By Friday, we should be back to that 20-degree mark, and tonight's probably the last night of this frost advisory that's in place. With clearing skies, will drop to -2, wind chill around -6 in the morning. It is going to be sunny all day long tomorrow. Fairly light southwest breeze and a high of 14 degrees. Now enjoy that, because chance for showers Thursday right through to Victoria Day Monday. Now Thursday showers will come in the afternoon. It'll be drier in the morning and a high of 11 degrees. And then Friday, we'll flip that around. We'll have the showers in the morning, but drying out again late in the day with a high of 20. I think we even have a shot at hitting 30 degrees, by the way, in 10 days. Okay, mark that on your calendar. Tonight, we're down to a low -2 degrees, and it's currently 7 degrees at Pearson.
This extended forecast is brought to you by Roto-Rooter Emergency Services. Fully prepared to help you in this difficult time with any of your drain, plumbing, or disinfection needs. Contact Roto-Rooter 24/7 online at rotorooter.com.
Coming up at the top of the hour, it's official, no CNE this year, and stateside, more cases of a mysterious illness linked to COVID-19 are being reported among children.
This is 680 News. Hey, Tim.
Yes, sir.
Our show's back on TV and radio, which has me thinking, can I still work in my truck pants?
I don't see why not.
Okay, good. What about showering? Do I need to shower?
All you need to worry about is entertaining the people. A breath of fresh air, as one might say.
Finally, I can at least work in peace and quiet at home.
You still have to talk to me.
Team and Sid, back on TV and radio. Weekdays at 5 p.m. Watch on Sportsnet 360 and listen on Sportsnet 590 The Fan through the Sportsnet app.
It's International Nurses Week, and 680 News wants to show our thanks and appreciation.
Head to 680news.com. Check out the inspiring t-shirt and mask collection, where proceeds will go towards the Frontline Fund, an organization providing supplies and support to healthcare professionals.
Their courageous efforts throughout this time deserve to be celebrated and reciprocated in any small way that we can.
Say thank you in style, with a heart and a smile.
Visit 680news.com.
One thing many people are missing right now is a good hairstyling. Salons and barbershops trying to figure out the best practices to keep both customers and staff safe while in close proximity to one another. Mike Apple reports from the 680 Business Center.
Provincial salons and barbershops are still weeks away from reopening, but when they do, they'll be taking ideas being used in the U.S. and some of the provinces where services have already restarted. One salon, Savello, which operates in the GTA and Vancouver, tells the CBC they'll be using disinfectants at every workstation. Masks and face shields will be mandatory. Customers will be asked how they're feeling and possibly given temperature checks. Gone will be the coffee lounge and waiting for service. Customers will be asked to arrive just a few minutes before the appointment. The pre-cut shampoo also gone, except for hair coloring treatments. The owner of Savello tells the CBC that staff will have a lot to deal with, but they're excited to come back. Already 8 weeks off the job.
Why
I'm Mike Apple.
Local businesses make our city great.
That's why 680 News has partnered with Scotiabank in Operation Support Local.
Hi, it's Sarah Parent. By supporting local, you can help keep the places you love open. From shopping online, signing up for online classes, or even ordering takeout, it all starts with you.
To submit or find a local business to support, visit 680news.com/support local. Operation Support Local.
In partnership with our friends, Scotiabank. We're in this together.
Getting rid of your car right now can be hard, but by donating it to the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation, not only is it easy to get rid of your car, you get closer to getting rid of cancer. The Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation will even send you a tax receipt. Call Cars for Cures 1-844-529-CARS or fill out the form online at carsforcures.ca. That's cars, the number 4, cures.ca. And get rid of your car this week.
City News Business Report. Here's Richard Southern.
Swagina, a legendary bar, a fixture in Toronto's entertainment district, has become the latest COVID-19 casualty. Crocodile Rock says it's closing its doors forever in Adelaide and Duncan. It posted a message on social media indicating that the ownership group simply couldn't continue to keep the bar in business. The Croc Rock, as it was known, probably really couldn't transition to a takeout or delivery model and make a run at it. It was
way
kind
less
of
to
a
drink at
nightclubby
all.
type of bar.
People are drinking way more, but they're spending a lot less.
Meantime, interesting news from Twitter. That company told its employees today they can keep working from home forever if they wish. Company said it was one of the first to allow employees to work from home at the beginning of the pandemic, and it says those who don't want to come back to the office don't have to. It added there will be no business travel before September and no in-person company events for the rest of the year. We'll see if any other companies follow suit. Twitter stock was down 1.8%, $29.15. Broader markets under pressure today. Investors looking at some jurisdictions that have been opening up their economy, like Germany. And what happened in Germany? Well, cases started to spike 6 days after they loosened restrictions. The TSX
Germany's not known for planning things out too good, eh?
To 14,881. The Dow fell 457 points to 23,764. The S&P down 2%. The Nasdaq snaps its win streak, falling 2 percentage points as well. Rates for gold, $1,705 US dollars the ounce, and the Canadian dollar, 71.02 cents US. Hang tight, top stories merely seconds away on 680.
Nearly seconds.
Together, we are making a difference to stop the spread of COVID-19. As businesses and workplaces begin to reopen, we all have to continue doing our part to keep everyone safe. Remember to practice physical distancing or wear a face covering if physical distancing is a challenge, and wash your hands thoroughly and often. Whether inside or out, stay safe and save lives. For more information, visit ontario.ca/coronavirus, paid for by the Government of Ontario.
At Sleep Country, we're real sleep experts, and we're available online or by phone to help you find your best sleep. Because whatever your sleep needs, we're here to listen. Whether you like a hard mattress and your husband likes a soft one, your daughter's back from school and all of a sudden she needs a bedroom, or you need a mattress with more back support, let a real sleep expert match you to a better sleep. Connect with us online at sleepcountry.ca. Sleep well, stay well. Sleep Country.
Downtown Toronto, partly cloudy and 8 degrees. The News Watch never stops. 680 News is CFTR AM Toronto. 680 News time, 5 o'clock.
#1 for
Breaking news, traffic, bad weather. This is 680 News, Toronto.
Here are James Monroe and Slijana Tominzik.
Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, May the 12th.
Here's what's making news right now.
An end of summer tradition canceled. The 2020 Canadian National Exhibition scrapped over COVID-19.
Ontario is getting
Where are we
set
gonna
to
get
finally
oversized
come back from COVID-19.
And it will be stage one out of 3 stages.
Premier Doug
Where are we
Ford
gonna
says
gamble
stay
legally?
tuned for Thursday.
Stateside doctors are warning parents to look out for symptoms of a rare mystery illness in children that could be linked to COVID-19.
Glover Teixeira and Anthony Lionheart-Smith make way for their UFC fight tomorrow night. And the NHL's return to play committee is having a chat today in Sports at 15.
Tim Hortons tells us how its dining rooms will look different when they're allowed to reopen. We'll talk to a company
That
executive.
doesn't affect kids. Well, where are these dead kids
200 points. Business at 26.
680 News Time 501.
Airport Chopper 680, Jordan
That'll
Kerr.
be waves too. They go for the whole people for the
Right
kids.
now, looking down towards the DVP, where we still have a minor issue and a slight delay. Northbound DVP, north of Eglinton. It's actually the end of the Winford ramp. The ramp lane is blocked up, all because of a stalled vehicle. There is transportation on scene. Northbound
Ready
DVP
to
is
set
just
it on
passing through
fire.
Eglinton up
These things
towards
in the
Lawrence. Not
vehicle.
too bad,
We
it
have
is
to
improving.
dispose of this
Another
rest
issue
of
that is in the process of clearing up is westbound on the QEW. Approaching Winston Churchill, the left lane's closed for construction, but they're picking up the pylons right now. It's still slow from Aaron Mills to Winston Churchill, but once that construction's all cleared up, this will be back to normal. And construction on the 407 between Dundas and Appleby. So eastbound 407, east of Dundas to Bronte, I should say. 2 right lanes are closed, and the ramps to and from Appleby are closed up. That's all due to construction. From the 680 Traffic Center, Kyle Hawking.
But we still have southbound Kennedy Road blocked approaching Steeles. A vehicle that had rolled over still being worked on by a tow truck. It's back on its wheels though. Construction in Mississauga, Dixie Road, very slow from Britannia to Derry, especially northbound, single-lane construction here. We have wires down on Weston Road, north of Albion and Lilac, so expect lane restrictions. At Bathurst and Rutherford, single lane always for water main repairs. In Thornhill, Leslie is a single lane in both directions south of John Street for more construction there. And we've as well got in Markham, Highway 7 reduced to a single lane from Woodbine to Town Center for more construction and also delays. Your next report at 5:11, and with the forecast, here's meteorologist Natasha Ramsahai.
All right, frost advisory once again for tonight because we're going to get rid of this cloud out there. Within the next couple of hours or so, we're going to start clearing out those skies, and that means a morning wind chill of -6. The frost advisory is in place for tonight. Probably the last one, though, because we'll slowly go up temperature-wise through the week. Tomorrow is sunny and 14 degrees. Tonight, we're down to that low of -2 degrees. Right now, it is 7 degrees at Pearson.
680 News Time 503.
Since the Second World War, has the CNE been canceled? Today, organizers confirming because of the pandemic, there'll be no Canadian National Exhibition this year.
680's Michelle Mackey joins us with the latest. Michelle.
So, Jana, it takes something truly unprecedented to close the gates, and this is one of those times. That's the message from CNE organizers who say it was a tough decision, but the right one.
Lights may be out this year, but your community spirit has never shone brighter. You see it in your perseverance.
I love it so much. Oh, to close those gates, there's no closing of the gates. In fact, the gates close when the CNE opens because they close the roads.
And reimagine the CNE for 2021.
You've never been.
Well, it's another reminder that life isn't normal right now. I'm confident that we will get through this and will be the beneficiaries of this reimagining of the CNE.
In its 142-year history, the CNE has only had one closure before, for the Second World War. Reporting live, I'm Michelle Mackey.
Premier Ford says he'll be releasing more details this week on the next part of the province's plan to reopen, including workplaces and small gatherings. 680's Mark Douglas joins us live. Mark.
James, Thursday is going to bring us a glimpse of the start of getting the Ontario economy back to normal. Premier Doug Ford says the province will be reopening more low-risk workplaces, seasonal businesses, and essential services.
And it will be stage one of 3 stages. So that's very important that the people of Ontario
We're trying to guess what's
the
going to
protocols, and we've hit stage 1 on Thursday. So we'll have more details as that rolls around.
But the premier misspoke a bit there about hitting stage 1. A media rep for the premier says he will only be announcing on Thursday what stage 1 is going to look like.
Yeah, we
Chief
knew
Medical
that because
Officer
he's
Dr.
speaking
David
like
Williams
he's from the
says
West
while there
End.
has been 7 or 8 days of declining COVID-19 numbers.
But we haven't had all those things come together yet where we say,
now
we're ready to enter stage 1. I think we're getting closer.
Oh, he meant,
in
he
that,
meant
but
this.
if it
He meant
was
this.
already
Yeah,
there,
we
I would
know
have
what he
already
meant.
recommended it.
Reporting live, I'm Mark Douglas.
This is 6 City News. The
Nobody
province's
wants
state
to
of emergency
hear
will remain in effect until at
misunderstood.
least June. 6 City's Momin Qureshi reports.
With several empty seats between each of them to make sure physical distancing is in effect, only a third of the province's MPPs
That's
sitting
what
in the
else to prevent the
legislature for this
politicians from
session,
multiplying.
with the goal of extending the emergency order, which Premier Ford says has to happen.
This extension will also continue enforcing important public health measures. And while we've made significant progress, we still have a long way to go.
The House will sit again multiple times in the coming weeks, which Liberal John Fraser feels is needed.
It's time to ask questions about not what's in the rearview mirror, but what are we going to do? Because we know this is going to be here. So, we're going to have question period, and I think that's going to start us on the path to climbing out of it.
The emergency order extended to June 2nd. I'm Momin Qureshi.
So stupid.
That's the 6 City News. Doctors in the U.S. are warning parents to watch for symptoms of a rare mystery illness in children. Could be linked to COVID. 6 City's Phil Martino joins us live with that. Phil.
James, Governor Andrew Cuomo says New York State health officials are investigating about 100 cases of the rare and dangerous inflammatory syndrome that affects children and appears to be connected to COVID-19. And there's a wide range of patients.
Less than 1 year old, predominantly 5 to 14, but we lost a young lady at 18 years old, and we have some cases up to 21 years old.
Whoa,
And he says
right.
these children don't present the usual COVID symptoms, and they're not respiratory symptoms, and he thinks that's one of the reasons why people haven't found it yet. Doctors are alerting the public to a
Well,
wide
they weren't looking
range
for it
of
because they're
symptoms
not
to
really
look out
looking for
If they
anything.
have a child with a fever for more than 3 days and
One-track
have
minds.
abdominal symptoms of
Single
vomiting and
tool
diarrhea and severe belly pain, then
problem
that would be the time to call your pediatrician. Symptoms are mirroring more commonly known inflammatory illnesses like Kawasaki disease and toxic shock syndrome. Other states have reported it.
The second
Similar
one there is
illnesses.
extreme.
Martino,
I think
6
everybody
News.
knows the first
Well,
one.
if it wasn't obvious before, it is now. The pandemic has highlighted the importance of sweeping healthcare reform. That message today from Ontario nurses who have issued more than a dozen recommendations on how to overhaul the system. Here's 6 City's Cam Dorrit.
Nurses say the tragedy our long-term care homes has faced could have been diminished. They argue congregate settings continue to be neglected and are calling for a new emphasis on primary care before hospitals. Doris Greenspan is the CEO of Registered Nurses and said the blame falls on everyone.
It's our fault as a health system. They have been short-staffed forever. This is not.
We don't want these sick people coming to hospitals. We want to go to community centers.
3 RPN.
She said just 9% of staff are registered nurses at these long-term care homes, and that number needs to be at least 20%. New
What are the
data in the
rest of
province
them?
shows the fight is far from over, with 361 new cases and 56 deaths reported today. I'm Cam Dorrit.
This is 6 City News. Seniors struggling through the pandemic are getting more financial support from the feds.
With seniors struggling to deal with a hit to retirement savings while costs for food and medication increase, the federal government has announced $2.5 billion in a one-time tax-free top-up to some of their benefits. Our government is taking action to alleviate some of the stress they may be feeling. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says those who receive old age security will get a boost of $300, and those who get the guaranteed income supplement will receive $200. There will also be an additional $20 million to the New Horizons program, which helps with deliveries to seniors and keep them in contact with family. But conservative Stephanie Cussy says this funding falls short and comes much too late in this crisis.
Well, all these old people are going to take either one or the other, not both.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister says this pandemic has exposed uncomfortable truths about how we treat our seniors, noting the outbreaks at long-term care facilities.
And in the coming months, the federal government will be there to help the provinces find lasting solutions.
More than half the COVID-19 deaths in Canada have occurred at long-term care facilities. Cormac makes from Parliament Hill.
Well, Canadians are turning to technology to stay entertained and connected during the pandemic. Here's 6 City Business Editor Chris McCusker. According to a new study, the Consumer Technology Association says 53% of Canadians are streaming video content from the likes of Disney Plus and Netflix while passing the time at home. The study, conducted in the middle of April, also shows 17% are using a streaming service for the first time. 43% of Canadian households are using video conferencing platforms like Zoom and FaceTime more often now, and more than 2 in 5, or about 43%, say they expect continued use of these products and services even after the COVID-19 outbreak has subsided. At the Business Center, I'm Chris McCusker.
Coronavirus updates and breaking news.
All
and breaking news.
Newsletters.
We're a coronavirus update station now. This is Steps to the New World. Welcome.
Now, 680 News, gas price update and
brokerage.
Coronavirus. Will go down 2 cents at midnight to 90.9. This is 680 News.
The safety of those around you is more important than ever. The Government of Canada has stated that the use of a non-medical mask or facial covering can be an additional measure you can take to protect others around you. It's important we keep the supply of medical masks for frontline healthcare workers. CanadaMaskSupply.ca offers personal, non-medical masks and face shields at reasonable prices. Proudly made in Canada for Canadians. Buy non-medical masks and face shields now at CanadaMaskSupply.ca.
680 News Sign by 11.
Traffic weather together on the ones, Airborne Jumper 680 here, Jordan.
I'm flying over Highway 7 right now in Markham, and it is heavy eastbound. Eastbound on Highway 7 is jammed approaching Woodbine to approaching Warden, all because of single lane construction through the stretch. You're forced into the right lane, really, really heavy. There's some lane restrictions westbound. That's not causing any delays. Looking over at the 404, and southbound 404 in great shape. Northbound DVP 404 moving well now. There's a minor issue on the northbound DVP north of Eglinton in the ramp lane. There's a stalled vehicle, but a cruiser on scene and it's not causing any slowdown. That construction westbound QEW by Winston Churchill will cleared up, and the delay is completely gone as well. From the 680 Traffic Center, here's Kyle Hawking. Some issues off the highways, a couple of them in Mississauga. Dixie Road is reduced to a single lane north and southbound between Britannia and Derry. Ongoing construction there. Looks like we may have an issue at Lawrence and Black Creek. Looking at Rescue's just spinning the camera around here. Toronto Transportation is. We've got police directing traffic through the intersection, so maybe a traffic light issue here. And we've got lane restrictions, it looks like, southbound on Black Creek, just south of Lawrence. Collision, it looks like, in fact. And delays at that intersection, as well Weston Road, north of Albion. Some wires have come down after a collision there, so expect lane restrictions. Your next report at 5:21 with the forecast. Here's meteorologist Natasha Ramsahai.
Right, temperatures have rebounded to 10 degrees out through Burlington. We're still sitting at 7, and that cloud is starting to break up as we speak. So as we clear out tonight, watch for a frosty one. Risk of frost, and the advisories are in place as we drop to -2, wind chill -6. This is probably the last night of the frost advisories for Toronto, though. Tomorrow is sunny and 14, and tomorrow night we're down to a low of 5 degrees. Now the cloud returns Thursday. The first half of the day dry. We'll get into some on and off showers, heavy at times through the afternoon and evening. The high that day just 11 degrees. Tonight we're down to a frosty low -2. It is currently 7 degrees at Pearson.
Now the Dynamic Funds Market Minute, Richard Southern.
James, good evening. Worries about the downside of reopening economies too soon weighed on the minds of investors today. The TSX fell 222 points, back below 15K, down to 14,881. The Dow fell 457 points to 23,764. S&P dropped 2%, and the NASDAQ broke a 6-day win streak, sinking 189 points, or 2 percentage points. A little bit of strength for the commodity group, with gold up to $1,705 and oil closed above $25. Down goes the loonie, though, Canadian dollar to 71 cents US. This is 680 News.
In times like these, we could all use advice, especially when it comes to investing.
Exactly,
advice matters now more than ever. Speak to a financial advisor and learn more at dynamic.ca/advice.
Doctors are good people and only want what's good for their patients. So if they say you can't work, I believe them, and so should your long-term disability insurer. My name is Aaron Waxman, and if your long-term disability claim has been denied, call me 416-661-4878. And don't worry about upfront legal fees, because there are none. At my law firm, we only get paid when you get paid. And before you call, you should always remember that there are no bad questions. 416-661-4878 or on your cell phone at # LTD.
At Global Pet Foods, we're extremely proud to be locally owned and operated. Especially during these challenging times, we believe it's important to shop Canadian and support neighborhood retailers. This is why you'll find the largest selection of Canadian-made pet foods, treats, and toys in our stores. We want to thank all of our loyal customers who continue to support us. Find your local store today at globalpetfoods.com to place an order for convenient curbside pickup. Global Pet Foods, proudly supporting our local communities since 1976.
This is All News Radio, 680 News. Overcast in downtown Toronto, 7 degrees at Pearson. Good afternoon from 680 News Broadcast Center. I'm James Monroe.
I'm Sojana Timmons. Here are the top stories right now.
Another annual Toronto tradition falls prey to the pandemic. The Canadian National Exhibition will not go ahead this year. The air show grounded as well. It's the first time since the Second World War. The Grand Old Lady by the Lake will fall silent. Another cold night on the way. A frost advisory remains in effect for Toronto and the GTA. Full traffic and weather on the way.
Time for 680 Sports from Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Here's Alex Xero.
Well, last Saturday marked the second event that UFC has held without any spectators, and while it was really strange to watch on TV, UFC President Dana White told Tim and Sid it did not impact the fighters in the octagon.
So I have two shows. I have a show called Ultimate Fighter, and I have a show called Dana White Contender Series. In those shows, the kids fight with no crowd, and it's awesome. I mean, they come to fight. And when you're a fighter, I mean, they know there's millions of people watching around the world. So it's not like, you know, these guys haven't done it before.
UFC Fight Night goes tomorrow in Jacksonville. The main event, Anthony Lionheart-Smith taking on Glover Teixeira, and both made weight this morning. Raptors guard Kyle Lowry will be on an important conference call today. Lowry, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, and others will meet over the phone with the NBA to discuss some return-to-play strategies. That's according to Shams Charania of The Athletic. And Ferrari needs a new F1 driver for the 2021 campaign, as Sebastian Vettel will be leaving after the season. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour, or anytime at sportsnet.ca/590.
This is 680 News. When the government says you can open for business, how can you be sure your workplace is COVID-free? Call the professionals who can weigh. Can-Weigh cleaning speaks no COVID allowed to kill all viruses, including COVID.
Et après cette pandémie aussi, parce que bon, on prend certaines habitudes qui pourraient durer au-delà de la prochaine année à venir. Avant ça, on écoute une chanson de Benjamin Biolay. Voici Comment est ta
prochaine année. Faut le voir.
It's time to stop rearranging the utensil drawer. It's time to stop baking bread. It's time to stop looking out and start heading out. It's time to put life back in drive. Because right now at Toyota, you can get great offers on all new models with our most advanced safety features at no extra cost. And take advantage of our 6-month payment deferral plan. Visit shoptoyota.ca or contact your local dealer to book an appointment. We're ready when you are.
This is 680 News. Canada's Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Theresa Tam, says the next phase of Canada's COVID response will involve testing people with a wider range of potential symptoms in order to get a better idea of who has COVID-19. Tam says Canada needs to start casting a wider net when it comes to who to test.
One of the key strategies is to widen the symptom list, if you like, and be able to test anyone who has mild symptoms. That is casting the net a lot wider.
Until recently, the government was asking people with mild symptoms to isolate at home without receiving a test. U.S. infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci offered a blunt warning of what he calls serious consequences if state and local officials lift COVID stay-at-home orders too quickly.
Fauci says as their economies reopen, even under the best of circumstances, when you put back on mitigation, you will see some cases appear.
And if communities rush into it without following federal guidelines and being ready to handle cases.
My concern is that we will start to see little spikes that might turn into outbreaks,
leading to avoidable death and suffering. Fauci testified to a Senate panel remotely while under self-quarantine, even as President Trump pushes states to restart their economies. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
In Texas, tensions are running high between officials trying to enforce COVID restrictions and citizens pushing the limits. As police tried to break up a gathering of at least 200 people in a car in Fort Worth.
Officials who've seen the dash cam video of the crowd and the violence are frustrated.
We're trying to begin to ease off the restrictions.
Tarrant County Judge Glenn Whitley.
Things like this can just mess up all of the hard work that everyone else has put into it.
5 people were wounded in the shooting. They're all expected to recover. Jim Runyon, ABC News in Dallas, Fort Worth.
Police are out in full force as part of Road Safety Week. The national campaign kicked off today. Runs through the Victoria Day long weekend. The Toronto Police Sergeant says officers will be on the lookout for the big 4 bad driving behaviors.
They include speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. And officers will be out throughout the city during this week and beyond, enforcing that message and making sure that our drivers are slowing down and acting within the law and responsibly.
Provincial police say in the GTA alone, they laid more than 70 street racing and 18 impaired driving charges between May 4th and the 11th. And those giant pandas who've been living in Calgary after a stint in Toronto are heading home 3 years early. The Calgary Zoo says after months of overcoming barriers to get fresh bamboo to feed them, it's decided to send them back to China, where, of course, bamboo is abundant. The zoo's president says it was a very difficult decision, but the health and well-being of the pandas comes first. 99% of a giant panda's diet is made up of fresh bamboo. Each adult eats about 40 kilograms daily. They arrived in Canada in 2014 as part of a 10-year agreement between this country and China. They spent 5 years at the Toronto Zoo before moving to Calgary in March of 2018 and eating their way out of Canada.
Damn pandas back.
6 City News Time 521. Traffic and weather together on the ones brought to you by 407 ETR. Airborne Chopper 680. Jordan Kerr.
Blagger, just north of Highway 7 right now. And if you're going eastbound on Highway 7, you want to avoid it between Woodbine and Warden. Literally taking any other eastbound route, it's going to be faster. We got single lane construction east of Woodbine towards Warden. Only the right lane is open and it is jammed solid on eastbound Highway 7. This whole stretch very, very slow going. All because of construction.
Where are you motherfuckers going?
Westbound is totally reopened. They had a couple of cones out, but there's no delay westbound through the stretch. En route to a new crash northbound on the Allen, north of the 401. 2 right lanes are blocked up, all because of a crash. So it's jammed from the 401 to north of it. And we still have a minor issue on the northbound DVP. North of Eklund to the ramp lane blocked off with a stalled vehicle. No major delay there anymore. From the 680 Traffic Center, Kyle Hawking.
Well, on city streets, now have a better view of Lawrence and Black Creek. It is a collision here. Southbound Lawrence at Black Creek, the right lane is blocked. North to southbound Black Creek at Lawrence, we've got the right lane blocked. Yeah. And northbound Black Creek at Lawrence, the left turn lane is blocked. It's because of this crash being cleaned up.
Well,
so cars have come down on Weston Road, north of Albion at Lilac, so expect lane restrictions and delays in this area. And things are clearing up at Bathurst and Rutherford. We had that broken water main. It's all been fixed up. Crews are now just picking up cones, so this intersection will fully reopen probably within the hour. 407 ETR is proud to be United Way's partner in Canada to make a multi-year investment, sending $4 million to help the GTHA recover from COVID-19. Your next report at 5:31, and with the extended forecast, meteorologist Natasha Ramsahai.
Yeah, it is going to get warmer here as we go into the long weekend. But tonight, though, we still have that frost advisory, probably the last one here for the week, at least in Toronto.
Stop
We're down to -2 tonight with clearing skies, wind chills of -6 in the morning. It's sunny all day long tomorrow with a high of 14. And then we bring back the cloud for Thursday, although the first half of the day is dry. So if you wanted to get out, do that before about 1 p.m. because after that, we'll have these on and off showers, 11 degrees on Thursday. And then Friday, after a wet start to the day, we should get some sunny breaks in the afternoon, and that's when we will soar to 20 degrees. Tonight we're down to a low of -2. It is now 7 degrees at Pearson.
Coming up the bottom of the hour, another annual Toronto tradition falls prey to the pandemic. Canadian National Exhibition will not go ahead this year. The air show grounded as well, and another cold night on the way. News you can use straight ahead.
Wait until it wasn't looking at this.
Asking for help isn't always easy, but getting it should be. At Scotiabank, it's easy to apply for financial relief for you or for your business. You can quickly request a payment deferral
Well, I have to start a business
or
and
access
get
other
like,
financial support options.
I'll sign up for this assistance, get health insurance for my
about a
employees,
personalized plan that will help you both
and
today
then somehow
and
get this
tomorrow.
blood test.
Visit scotiabank.com/relief
Oh,
to
you
learn
bastard.
more. Scotiabank.
Somewhere beyond the headlines lies the big story. Hosted by veteran Canadian journalist Jordan Keith Rawlings. The Big Story, available wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe now.
This is 680 News. Starting July 3rd, you'll be able to see the original Broadway cast of Hamilton perform the musical smash hit from the comfort of your couch.
If you're one of the millions of people who couldn't score tickets to the smash hit musical Hamilton during its Tony Award-winning original Broadway run, you won't have to wait much longer. Hamilton will debut on Disney Plus July 3rd. It's a recording of the original Broadway cast doing the show, and it'll feature special technology that's supposed to be a leap forward and be part of live capture. The performance was going to hit theaters October 15th, but will now be streaming July 3rd in celebration of Independence Day. And Hamilton creator and star Lin-Manuel Miranda says everyone who watches will get the best seat in the house. Jason Evans at ABC News, Hollywood.
And it's International Nurses Day to support our frontline workers during COVID-19. Rogers Sports Media has launched the Hearts and Smile campaign. Starting today, you can buy Hearts and Smiles t-shirt or mask with all proceeds going toward the Frontline Fund, which supports 150 hospital foundations across Canada. You can learn more about the campaign at 680news.com. Richie's Business next. This is 680 News.
Hi, I'm Laura Pedoni, Quality Control Manager at Monte Carlo Inns. At Monte Carlo Inns, we know it's not business as usual. In these unprecedented times, we are here for you. Should you need an office away from home or just a comfortable night's sleep, we are taking additional measures to ensure your health and safety. By doing so, we will do our best to make Monte Carlo Inns your home away from home. Visit MonteCarloInns.com for more information.
Get hooked on Bolts Plus. Bolts Plus is your fastener specialist, plus so much more. Check out their massive showroom filled with an extensive inventory of industrial and safety supplies, such as abrasives, adhesives, and lubricants.
Safety supplies.
Storage
Safety
bins,
supplies
paints and coatings, cutting tools, chain hooks, and wire rope. Plus a huge stock of DeWalt
Any
and
store that
Milwaukee power
sells what?
tools. Plus their
Reflective
knowledgeable
tape
staff
vests?
source your hard-to-find items. Bolts Plus, proudly
Safety
Canadian owned and
pens,
operated.
safety
Many
scissors,
locations to serve you. Visit
safety
boltsplus.ca.
680 News, 526.
That's
Maybe that's why
680
Dollar
Business
Ramen
Report from the
should be open.
Midtown home office of Richard Southern.
Good evening. Tim Hortons and its parent company, Restaurant Brands International, is revealing how its dining rooms will look different once the provincial government allows them to open. For the last 8 weeks, Tim Hortons has only operated via drive-through and via delivery. But it says when it gets the go-ahead to open its restaurants, it will widen the space between the tables, and it will sanitize the tables and the chairs after every use. It will also limit the amount of customers at every table. Doug Fulton is the Chief Operating Officer at Restaurant Brands International.
And now in our dining rooms, we're going to have tables that are 2 meters apart, and you're going to be seeing those tables sanitized and cleaned in between every single use. I think it's going to give people a lot of confidence that it's a safe and comfortable place to come with your family and friends.
And from a business standpoint, obviously, this is important to increase traffic, right?
Look, I think every business out there is looking for the path back to normal. And we've always had about a 60-40 split between drive-through and dine-in. So dine-in is an important part of the experience, and we're certainly seeing an increase in interest in our drive-through, an increase in delivery.
Hey, what's that ratio at the locations without
and shares in Restaurant Brands were down 0.5% today at $73.35. Broader markets, though, slipped quite a bit. TSX down 222 points, 1.5%. Down to 14,881. The Dow was down 457 points, almost 2%, to 23,764. Investors are looking at economies that are reopening, like Germany, where there's been a spike in the number of positive COVID cases. So that's kind of weighing on the mind of investors. The S&P was down 2%. NASDAQ snapped its win streak, falling 2 percentage points as well. Canadian dollar down to 71.02 cents US. Top stories only 60 seconds away on 680 News.
I want the bottom worst
Amazon is hiring near you. No resume or previous work experience required. Health and safety are a top priority with all of our roles and sites. Amazon is taking precautions in our buildings to keep people healthy. Learn more or find a job now at amazon.ca/apply. That's amazon.ca/apply.
I don't want to work for Amazon. At all, ever.
But one big family.
Ever.
Especially now. 37 million people united by one cause. You can always count on family to get you through tough times, which is why Sobeys is donating to communities coast to coast. To further unite this family we call Canada. Share your family stories with hashtag OneBigFamily. Sobeys, Canada's family grocery store.
Checking the forecast this evening, clear 3 degrees, overnight clear -2, tomorrow morning risk of frost, and it'll feel like -6, afternoon temperature up to 14. A few clouds in downtown Toronto, 7 degrees at Pearson, it feels like 3. It's 5:30.
Number 1 for news in Toronto. This is 680 News.
Here are Sledgena Dominzik and James Monroe.
Good afternoon. This is Tuesday, the 12th of May.
Here's what you need to know right now.
The exhibition, it's a great tradition, but no, you will not be going to the Axe. The 2020 CNE canceled in light of COVID-19.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford says stage 1 of reopening the province's economy is coming soon.
More low-risk workplaces, seasonal businesses, and essential services.
But we'll have to wait till Thursday.
The province's emergency order will last at least another 3 weeks. A limited amount of MPs gather at Queen's Park to extend it to June 2nd.
A rare mystery illness in children that could be linked to COVID-19 has surfaced in the U.S. At least 3 deaths have been reported.
Negotiations have begun starting today. Baseball players and MLB are trying to get past a few sticking points that would see them return to the diamond this season. Sports at 45.
Investors worried about the downside of reopening economies too quickly. Sell stocks. TSX falls more than 200 points. The Dow down more than 450. Business at 56.
680 News Time, 5:31.
Traffic and weather together on the ones brought to you by Roto.